All right, so today we're going to install this. This is if you know anything about single actions, you're familiar with Elmer Keith's number 5. This base pin is designed to kind of simulate that, or maybe even copy it, but for a Ruger Blackhawk and not Elmer Keith's Colt single action number 5. So we just got this. It came from Masters, and it says doing business as Power Custom. So this is a Power Custom piece. It comes with this little Allen wrench. There's a little set screw in there, and this is that base pin. All right, and what I'm hoping to accomplish is, see how this base pin is just a little bit. The head of it is a little bit shorter than this is a regular stock factory base pin from Ruger. And it's a little bit longer, a little bit taller than this replacement one from Power Custom, and what we're hoping to gain is, as your ejector rod, it bottoms out on your base pin. So when you're trying to eject a spent cartridge, we're not getting a full or complete ejection of that spent. We're hoping to maybe with this little bit more length, we can get a more complete ejection. Also, too, with this hourglass shaped head, it's going to be easier to pull that base pin in and out when we want to pull this cylinder out, for cleaning or disassembly. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll take this apart. We'll replace this base pin, and we'll get started on this. All right. Before I get going, I'm going to take my dial caliper, and I just want to compare the diameter of this new Power Custom base pin, and we'll compare it to an original, or like I said, stock factory one. So we'll take this in. Where are we at? So we're looking at what, 248.248 for that stock pin. And this one here, oh, it's not really oversized, is it? We're just a little over 249. So we're a thousandth. Looks like we gained a little thousandth in diameter, so that might tighten up the action a little bit. Not an extreme difference, just enough that 1/1000th. Maybe that'll tighten up a little bit of that cylinder play. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing swapped out. All right, so all we have to do is remove this one screw from the ejector rod housing, and this is going to be, because that ejector is spring loaded, so there's going to be a little bit of spring pressure in there. I've got one of my screwdrivers that is made specifically to fit this screw right here, and here's how you tell if a screwdriver fits the screw correctly. Look, that's a nice snug fit. That's not going to jump out of it. It's not going to turn. It's not going to distort that head of that screw. We're not going to bugger up the head of the screw at all with this nice tight fitting screwdriver. All right, we'll just take this out. I'm keeping my finger over the end. Like I said, this is under some spring pressure. So we'll take that screw out. Just going to set that aside and just slowly ease this ejector and ejector rod housing off. And there's that big spring. We'll set that aside. Now this base pin should just come right out. Look at that. All right, so let's now replace that base pin with this Power Custom. And it seems to lock in place really nice. All right. There we go. All right, let's put that ejector rod housing back on. Make sure that spring goes down into this recess. There we go. And again, I'm going to hold that on there because there is a little bit of spring pressure. We'll put that screw back in. And we'll tighten it down here with our screwdriver. Oh. There, nice and snug. All right, we'll play with that base pin. Let's put our cylinder back in. All right, we'll drop that cylinder back in. Now we put our new base pin down in there. Ooh. It's maybe a little snugger, maybe a little more solid. All right. It's got a nice look to it. Looking like, now you tell me, does that look just like Elmer Keith's number 5? Yeah, not exactly, but pretty darn close. I've got that Bisley hammer. Let's see how it ejects. All right, now with that shortened base pin, do we get a little better ejection? Now, we didn't gain a whole lot, honestly, but it does eject it slightly farther out, so it probably wouldn't take much to kick those right out. All right, we're all set to go. Look at that, nice and pretty. We got our poor man's number 5. All right, just in case you're wondering, that base pin, even though the head of that base pin is a little bit shorter, it still does not come completely out of the revolver. We don't have to worry about losing this, when we're cleaning. So, I mean, it's at about its very end, but it is being retained. So when we do swap cylinders out, we're not dropping this on the bench. All right, so when we go to put that back in, just like the original, it's going to be in place. We'll get that. There we go. All right, our directions say to drill a small dent using a number 36 drill in the bottom of the barrel, and there's a that set screw. Let's go ahead and follow directions. We'll go ahead and drill that little dent there so we can use that set screw and retain this base pin just like it was made. All right, so what I've done is I've taken that little set screw out using the supplied Allen wrench that came with the base pin, and I'm taking my absolute smallest transfer punch that I have. Get yourself a set of transfer punches. All right, we're going to go right in through that hole that the set screw came out, so we know we're going to be exactly where. Let's see if I can go a little bit bigger. We'll try the next size up. Is that going to fit in there? That's too big. All right, so we are using the smallest transfer punch I have. We're going right down the hole where that set screw was, and I'm just going to mark with my, was that a 4-ounce ball peen hammer? So we get a nice mark of where to drill for our the little dent for the set screw. All right, so we can see our little dent that we made with our transfer punch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my center punch here and I just want to make that a little bit more pronounced so we don't miss it with our drill. Just going to put the tip of that right into the dent that we've already made. There we go. Now we've got a little bigger, a little more predominant dent. Now our drill bit won't wobble. All right, so what we have chucked up, we have our number 36 drill bit, and we're just going to drill a small dent for that base pin set screw. You can't see a thing, can you? All right, that's because my hands are in the way. All right, but you can see, just going to drill a slight dent just to keep that base pin from moving around. And that might be enough. All right, just that little bit of a dent just to hold the end of that base pin. All right, let's just get our base pin over here. We'll just kind of compare this just to make sure where we're at. And I still have it retained on that Allen wrench. So when it goes through the head of that base pin, is there enough of a dent too? There we go, and there is enough. There's enough of a dent where once this set screw goes in there, that base pin's not going to be moving around. Okay, so that's a good test fit. All right, so what I'll do, I'm just going to put a little bit of cold blue in there. We'll clean it up, we'll get a little cold blue, and then we'll put this all back together. Right, we'll go ahead and prep this. Use a little bit of alcohol. Clean that spot out. Alcohol evaporates almost immediately. So now we can take our cold blue. Just kind of tap that. No one's going to see this, but we'll know it's there. All right, so there's my little cold blue. We'll let that sit. Now we go ahead and clean this up. And we're almost invisible. All right, let's go and hit that with a oily rag. I don't know if the light's hitting that right or not. Can you see our little dent? That little dent there, that's all we've got. That should be enough to retain our base pin. All right, so we've got her all put back together. The ejector rod housing got put back on. And this, by the way, this is a steel ejector rod housing, not that alloy like you'd normally find. We'll put the cylinder back in. I'm going to put just a drop of gun oil on that new base pin. All right, so we'll have a new drop of, we'll slide that base pin in there. Does lock up pretty nice. All right, we'll take our little Allen screw, little Allen head wrench here. We'll tighten that base. Oh, look at that. If we look right in that gap, we're locked into our dent that we drilled. That base pin, there is no wiggle, no wobble, no movement. That thing is solid. All right, so there we go. We've got our Keith number 5 base pin on there. Nice and easy to grab when we do go to change that cylinder out. We did gain a little bit more travel with our ejector rod. Let's see that we're all the way down. We're bottoming out. Okay. It does got a nice lockup and a nice feel. There we go. We're all done. All right, so we have this now, our set screws down in there in that dent that we drilled. And if you're concerned about, hey, in the field I don't want to have a tool where I need to take my base pin out, we can back that set screw out. So now, just like with our factory base pin, we can, insert, take out that cylinder without any tools. And this thing is still, it's not budging, it's not moving. And then if we're in maybe a hunting situation, or we're going to be in the field where we won't need to be swapping that cylinder out or cleaning, then we just tighten that lock screw down. But I personally don't think you need it. I think that's just a little insurance. All right, there we go.